Welcome to What Democracy Looks Like in the podcast, hosted by me, Mary Layton. This week, I am re-releasing all the interviews from this podcast in their full-length versions. This is in preparation for the last episode of this season, which will be an interview with anthropologist Nicola Sharratt on democracy in the United States. Nicola is a dual citizen of the US and the UK, and you may remember that she was one of my first ever guests, talking about democracy in the UK in Season 1. Well, she is back to round off the end of Season 2, so look out for my interview with Nicola on democracy in the US coming later in December. In the meantime, please enjoy this episode from September 2022 on what democracy looks like in Chile. Okay. Right, so welcome guys. I'm really excited to have you guys here. Why don't we start by having you introduce yourself? Paloma, do you want to go first? Tell us a bit about you.
Of course. First of all, thank you for having me. My name is Paloma. I am a PhD student at the University of Michigan. Mm-hmm. I'm originally from Santiago, from Chile. Mm-hmm. And I spent most of my life in the southwest area of Santiago. Mm-hmm. But I've been here in the US for 5 years.
5 years, yeah. And you work on the same water project that David works on, who was part of the Mexico podcast on the last episode. So thank you. Rodrigo, do you want to introduce yourself?
Thank you for the invitation. I'm Chilean too. So yeah, I'm living in Santiago too. I'm a lecturer at the University of Chile at the Department of Anthropology. My racial background is Hispanic, let's say, but you know, in Chile, it means something like a mixture of different backgrounds, like indigenous for one part. My grandparents one of them come from Lebanon. So it's
from Lebanon, right?
Yes. So it's something very mixture.
Yeah. Great. And you're both physical anthropologists, which
that's something we forgot.
Yeah, that connects you both. And Rodrigo, you lived in a different country as well, didn't you?
Yes. I did my PhD in UK. In the University of Cambridge. I spent like 5 years or 4 years and a half there.
Okay, so we should start by talking about the big issue, it seems to me, in Chile right now, about this referendum you guys had on the Constitution. So would one of you like to start by trying to explain it in a simple way? Like, how do you explain what's just happened?
Okay, so maybe I can start and then you can add all the things that I will miss. So this referendum was meant to be a way to approve or not approve a new constitution in our country.
Right.
And this comes as the result of a social movement that started in 2019. We called it like an explosion, right?
Oh, wow.
Like a social uprising that stopped the country for many months. And as a solution for that, politicians agreed to reconsider the possibility of writing a new constitution and change the one that we have, that is the one we inherited from the dictatorship.
Right. And this isn't the first time the Constitution has been rewritten, right? It's not like in the US where they had the same one since the beginning of the country started.
Yes, the Chilean Constitution was made in the 1980s.
Okay, so this one was
during the Pinochet dictatorship.
Yeah.
And we have had like three constitutions in Chile.
Okay.
So this is the last one. That one was made on 1980s. Was the third constitution. But the thing is, it was made under a dictatorship, and it was very neoliberal way of politics. So the Chilean people would like to change many things, items, or topics in the constitution.
You know, from the outside, it can feel a bit like a constitution is like, why does that impact you every day? It's just like a piece of paper, right? But what is the push to change it? Why was it so important that it was from the dictatorship, for instance?
So I think it's first of all, the symbolic power of having something that is from the dictatorship, and now the opportunity to change it for one that was not only democratic, but also had gender as an important factor, included indigenous communities, and it was also including working class people for the first time.
Okay,
I think it's mostly symbolic. Like, even if you don't talk about what is written in the new proposal of a constitution, it was still very important. In symbolic terms.
It also the old the constitution from 1980s has a problem that if the people wants to make some changes in legal terms, they couldn't make it because many of these proposals are considered unconstitutional.
Oh,
that's the problem. The structure, the structure of the constitution has a very weird organization, because we have a constitutional tribune.
Okay.
When you have a proposal even accepted by the Congress, even after being approved, they had to pass by this constitutional tribune.
Okay.
And the constitutional tribune is like 4 people that they review the proposal and see if the constitution, see if the proposal fits with the constitution. So many like I don't know, from this last decade, kind of 8 or 9 different proposals have been rejected by this constitutional tribune. So that's something very weird. And this is something that was created precisely in terms of trying to impede to stop progress. Like Paloma say, like, for example, abortion, indigenous rights, etc.
Okay, I see. So it's kind of like when the last constitution was written, it was like, okay, we're going to put something in place to guarantee that nothing will actually change.
Exactly.
You might get rid of the dictatorship and you might have a democracy now, but everything has to stick to the rules that were written by the dictator.
Exactly. That's the thing. It's very rigid. It's a very rigid constitution.
So those 4 people who are in the tribune, how are they appointed or elected? Where do they come from?
I don't remember well.
No? Okay.
But it's not democratic at all.
Yes. Yeah. Paloma, I'm wondering if is it similar to the Supreme Court? Is it that kind of situation?
Yes, I think it's the same role.
Okay.
I'm not sure how the members of the tribune are elected, but I believe maybe they're chosen by Congress.
Okay.
But I'm not sure.
So maybe it's not quite as prominent as it is in the US, where everyone knows who the Supreme Court people are. It's just these mysterious people.
Yes.
Yeah, I think it's not about the individuals that are there. It's just like the institution.
Right. So wasn't the push to get a new constitution also part of a plebiscite, a part of a referendum?
Yes, it was a plebiscite.
Okay. But then it was rejected.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. So we first approved the idea of changing the constitution. Then the new proposal was written, and then we rejected that proposal.
Yeah, I can see, Rodrigo, you're trying to look up now how the... Don't worry, it's fine.
Yeah. Sorry.
The thing is, I think to me the thing that's interesting is that you don't necessarily know. So it's different from like the US one, right? Where everyone knows who the Supreme Court people are, and it's very, very controversial. But it's instead this like mysterious thing. Yeah. So what's going to happen now, do you think, now that the thing has been rejected?
The things are very blurred now.
Okay, yeah.
Because after the rejection of this new constitution, the political parties now are just talking and they are trying to make some agreement, but the right side, after this tremendous disapproval of the new constitution, they really don't want to make any change to the old constitution. Yeah. And the thing is, it's like the right side. They say that they want to reform or to create another new and renewed constitution. But now many of them are saying that they don't want to make any change. So that's a yes.
They don't want to make any change at all. Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's
so
the problem.
I think the right wing always said, no, we don't want to change things. Then when we voted that we wanted a new constitution, they said, okay, we're going to be part of this process, and we want to participate and contribute to this new constitution.
Yeah.
And then when we had to vote if we approve or not this proposal, they of course supported the rejection of this new proposal.
Right. That so sounds
we don't want to change, but then it's like, okay, fine, we can change a few things, and then it's like, no, we don't want to change anything.
So that's kind of sneaky. Yeah.
In their campaigns, they said, yeah, we want to change things, but not this way.
Right.
We want to do it seriously. We want to use other institutions. And now, so they promised people that changes were going to be made.
Yeah.
But now they're saying like, well, maybe this is a process that can take 50, 100 years.
Right. Yeah.
That's horrible. Yeah.
Right. So they're just demonstrating that they've been trying to just block this process and keep things as they are for as long as possible.
Yeah. I remember when I haven't been in Chile since 2011, I think. And I remember at the time, Rodrigo, it may have been you who told me about this, that after the dictatorship ended, it was still extrememely popular with a large portion of the population. And it
absolutely,
it often felt to me like the way people talked about the post-democracy period in Chile, that you still have this weird, like, half the population still thinks the dictatorship was fine. Is that still the case? Is that what we're seeing with this debate?
Yeah, Chile is very conservative.
Yeah.
And the dictatorship was just another step to this very conservative way of make politics. We have to even go, I don't know, in the 1830s, there was the first dictatorship created by Diego Portales.
Okay.
And he was the first person who made the constitution, like a constitution that really rules the country. And that constitution was like the cornerstone of a very conservative, very military country.
Interesting, yeah.
So we have to understand that the Chilean people, we have to also understand that we were a colony. So the differences between like high class and low class was very strong in past, and even nowadays the socio-economic strata is very, very, very. They define the people, and people from low class, they feel that they have to follow a leader.
Right. Interesting.
From my point of view, I don't know. We can debate about it. But many of them. So I think that's the debate that we create this kind of new processes in which there's some people in low and middle class that they really want to change this point of view, this perspective in which Chilean people have to make their own rules. They want to like being more independent to the high class, etc. But we understand that there's many people that are very afraid of the dictatorship, that it was very traumatic for many of them.
Yes.
And because it was very violent, and many people, old people, they lived and they remember that experience very traumatic. So they prefer to not make many changes because, I don't know, they don't want to create a very different country.
Interesting.
Something like that. And this constitution, the new constitution, the new proposal of constitution, really it was very, very revolutionary in terms of making many changes with many rights, different rights, like a plurinationality, like integration of indigenous communities, giving them some authority to rule their own territory, in which, like I tell you, because we were a colony, the indigenous people always there were treated like a very, very low class, and they were not right to any authority on their land.
Exactly. Yeah. That's really interesting. And I find it interesting that you bring it back to the colonial context, which of course is incredibly important, and still has this lasting impact. But also the idea that any enormous change is going to feel traumatic, even if it's a change for the better, if your experience of big revolutionary changes led to violence in the past.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I also have to mention, I think, that so we had this new constitution after a very long and for many people traumatic pandemic.
Yes.
Inflation is crazy in Chile, and we're not used to it. Like we used to have a very stable currency, and now we don't. So it feels like all these changes started right after this social uprising. So people, of course, want to go back to normal, right? They want to just have their jobs, live their lives. They want to be able to pay bills. We also have this new migration crisis that is affecting South America in general.
I haven't heard about that, so.
Yeah, so for Chile, it's quite new. Probably when you were there, you noticed that there is not a lot of diversity in terms of nationality.
I noticed that people have it in for Peruvians. Like, I lived in a neighborhood in Santiago, and everyone would say to me, like, "Oh, watch out, there are Peruvians there." And I'm like, what? What's wrong? I used to live in Peru too. What's up with this? But yeah, anyway. So,
so we used to have many migrants from Peru and Bolivia, but now we have from many other countries, and people that have cultures that are very different from the Chilean one. So that's also causing like maybe is invigorating the conservative side of society.
So the new immigration is from outside of South America or from different parts of South America?
Different parts of South America mostly.
Interesting.
And well, it's mostly Venezuelan, Colombian, and people from Haiti.
Right.
And I think maybe a few Dominicans. But these are cultures that we're not used to see on the streets. We don't really, in the past, we didn't hear any accents different than ours.
Yeah.
So it feels really new, and people feel threatened by it. And it makes sense. Of course, I'm not justifying it, but it makes sense that people are so scared. I also want to say that I don't think I agree with Rodrigo when he says that
that is fine.
A conservative country. I think like we're like a small town. It is a small country.
Yeah.
And I think that we don't have experience because we're just a small town. You know, like we don't understand how the big world works because we're just like this very self-centered country. And considering that 49 years ago, we had this coup d'etat and the dictatorship started. I mean, it was 49 years ago.
Yeah.
It impacted most of the population that is alive today, have that trauma or grew up hearing about that trauma.
Yeah.
So I think that even though Chile is institutionally, I think is very conservative, I think in society in general, we're not that conservative. I think that in other countries, it's the opposite. Institutionally, they're super progressive, but then as a culture, they're not. I believe in Chile, it's the opposite. Institutions are more conservative than the culture. So, for example, when you see cases such as abortion rights or women's rights or the protection of the environment and things like that, I will say that you get the majority supporting those causes. But in terms of laws and what the government is doing, it's definitely not something that is relevant for them.
That is super interesting. That's super interesting. And maybe it's partly because they can't change things because the Constitution is still stuck. So even if you want to do progressive things, you can't. But I wonder if this also comes back to who gets to be in, like, a politician, who gets to be in charge. I'm assuming a small group of people tend to represent most of the powerful people in the country.
Yeah, it's again like a small town. You know the last names of the people that are in power. You know what schools they go to. Right. They're all private schools. They're all for rich people. They're the ones that have the opportunity to be in these roles. And also I think the influence that rich people have in the media in Chile is very important. Right. I was listening to the previous episode on Mexico, and I remember David mentioned that can you have a democracy where people cannot communicate different opinions? And I think that even though we don't have the same level of violence as in Mexico, we definitely have less diversity in what ideas are communicated in the media, because all these television channels are owned by private companies or religious institutions. So that influence is huge.
So it's not like a violent control of all of those institutions. It's more like just a money control, right? It's a quieter but still just as powerful way of keeping all the power just in a few people's hands. Okay, well, before we get too far into this, let's talk about, like, what is the basic organization, so we all know what we're talking about. So you have a president, right?
Exactly.
Yes, yeah. And does the president actually have a lot of power?
Yes. Yeah, the president here has a lot of power. It's part of our history. We have had many political trials. And one of them was in past, the Congress had more power, in the 19th century. But after a civil war, the president became the most powerful person, in the government.
And there's nobody above the president, just the Constitution, I guess.
Even the president and the executive power can give some proposal to the Congress. And the Congress can accept or not this proposal, but many of them are has a very strong influence by the president. So when the president make this proposal, it's very common that they will be approved.
Okay, yeah, but people in their own party, I assume, just approve
Exactly. But anyway, it's important that the Congress has a equilibrium of power. So when the Congress has the majority, they have many opportunities to approve these proposals.
Oh, okay, yeah. So then under the president, you have Congress. Is there two chambers? Is it that
exactly?
Kind of system?
We have two chambers.
Okay, I'm finding it super interesting that it seems like most of the Americas have this similar system, like president with two chambers. And I've started to look at some other places like in Europe, and it seems many of them are more like the parliament system. So this is something I'm kind of getting interested in, So you got the two chambers, and how many political parties are there?
Now there's many political parties. I don't remember how many, but in past we have a very similar system like the States. Like a more left side and more right side coalitions. But now they constitute coalitions among them. So it was always just passing the power from this party to another party, and then it was a ping pong, like a table tennis game. Right, left. After the dictatorship, there was I don't remember, 3 or 4 left governments, but after that there was a table tennis change. But now I think there are kind of 10 different parties. I don't know. I
would say more.
I think more.
We
yes,
had 50. But wow. I don't think it's that relevant in terms of how you vote for things, because finally you just have 3 groups. In the past, you had 2 groups.
Exactly.
And by the past, I mean before maybe 2019. But in recent years, there's a 3rd group that is gaining more space and more power. And I will say that if you had like the same model as in the US, you have Republicans, Democrats. This third group will be like liberals.
Right.
So it's like a far left. It's not far left. It's just left.
more left than the neoliberal left. Yes.
Exactly. Most of them are individuals that were leading social movements in 2011, in 2006.
Yeah.
So they come from that experience of doing politics as a student in universities, in schools, in high schools. So lots of people that have been on the streets protesting and now are in power.
Yeah. And I want to come back to that in a minute because I think that's super interesting because it's so different from the US. This whole idea of, well, all the high school students and students who are super involved in politics over the last decade or so. But okay, so you said that around 2019, there was a shift. If it had previously been 2 political parties and suddenly you have like 50, what happened to change that?
Well, it isn't that you had, so in the past, you had like 10 different political parties, but they were grouped in these 2 coalitions. So it didn't matter that much if you were like from the Socialist Party or like a radical party. People will still vote for more or less the same things. And when you go and vote for a president, you're really thinking, am I supporting the conservative or the left?
Right. Okay.
And that's it.
So when you vote, are there 2 rounds? Is that how it works? So you can vote for like, I don't know, the Marxist Party or whatever you want to, and then the next round vote for the liberal person who's probably going to win.
Exactly. When there are president elections, if only if one candidate obtain more than 50%, they immediately win the election. But normally
in the first
round. But normally it is impossible. So normally they pass to the second round, first 2 candidates.
And in terms of coalition politics, does the fact it's a coalition rather than one party actually mean that they have to take into account the different opinions of different people in the coalition? Does it lead to more of a range of different points of view?
Yes, there's many arrangements of point of view between them, among them.
Okay.
It's like I don't know, nowadays, for example, the political party that rules, the coalition that rules the country, it also has included the Communist Party, for instance.
Right. Interesting.
So it is a very large range of perspectives, like a very social and more progressive point of view. So they have to negotiate among them, the different ministries, the different, politics in general, like what to do, how to do it, etc. And the same thing it happens in the more right coalition, in which there are very far right point of views. And all the more liberal.
Yeah. That is kind of fascinating to me because from my perspective, that seems really different from places where they just have 2 parties. Like Paloma, I'm wondering how it seems to you being in the US and seeing, for instance, like the Republican Party is incredibly monolithic now. They're just like, they have one line, they're told what to do, and they all do the same thing. But it sounds like it's much more dynamic and much more negotiation if you have a coalition.
Yeah, I think that definitely you have more space for fighting for power, maybe once you are part of the government. Each party is going to care a lot about how many of the ministers are from your party. So, for example, if you have 20 different positions, the Communist Party will say, okay, so I supported your campaign. I should get at least 2 of those seats, or 3 or 5. Depending on how strong that party is in the moment. And that's something that we're seeing now, because even though we chose this president that comes from this third group that is more liberal and progressive, even though we chose him, now he is giving power or assigning some of those seats to the people in traditional political parties from the equivalent of the Democrats, right? So it feels like in the US, I feel like you're trapped, right? You have two options. If you don't get those,
you're stuck. Yes.
Yeah, there's nothing you can do. It's just two options, and that's it. Well, in Chile, we voted for a third option, and I think that took a lot of work,
right,
and a lot of political activism for decades. But even though we have now this third option, because the right wing is pressuring so much, they're giving space to the more traditional democratic group.
How do people feel about that? Because if it's like you described, people are so reluctant to change, and then this big change happens. Okay, we got this third group, but then they still have to stay in power, which is kind of what you'd expect, right? It's kind of obvious. Like, of course, you still have to pay attention to the people who've been there forever, but then how do people react to that?
I think it depends on who you ask. I would say for all these questions about like what people think, I would say I have no idea.
No, that's fine.
After the referendum and seeing that the rejection new proposal of the constitution was so popular, they got 68% of the vote, I think.
Oh wow!
And I think that for us, probably Rodrigo also feels this way. For us that come from like an intellectual group of people that have access to education and maybe resources to read more and study more and like a comfortable lifestyle. We thought that the constitution was what Chile wanted, and now we learned that that's not it, but we don't know what it is. No one knows what it is. So everyone is fighting each other and trying to understand what people are thinking. Do they want to change? What type of change? Is it about when or who or why? What is it? We have no idea. So
it took you by surprise.
So when you wonder what people think of our current government incorporating more traditional politicians in power, I think that many people are desilusionados, disappointed, because we were trying to see this new group, this third group, bringing young people, very qualified, with gender and environment and indigenous groups as a priority. And now they're bringing back these old politicians that ignored those claims for more than 30 years. So it's very disappointing, but maybe for some people it gives them more stability or like a perception of stability that they need, especially considering that the situation nowadays is very difficult for lots of people.
No, that's super interesting.
That's why I think the Chilean people are still very conservative, because there were many impressive changes, like so many different changes that the new constitution proposes, that people, I think they were not very clear about what these changes can be understood by them. For instance, we have a kind of racist. I don't know if we are so racist like that people say about the US, but we have how I told you, like a colonialist perspective made that the people, like the indigenous people, considered like in low classes, so in a lower class. So this kind of idea of plurinationality sound very weird for many people. For instance, or the women rights or other genders rights. That was very confusing and strange, but because the people, many of them, after the upheaval, the social movement in 2019, they want like a more right for housing, wage, I don't know, more shallow, let's say, I don't know if more shallow, but look more day by day things. But this kind of things are very ideological change of thought that come from like in a more intellectual part of the people, more progressive way of thinking. And I think the left side and the progressive parties, they couldn't teach and show the importance of these kind of changes. And even the environment changes that they are very urgent in Chile. They were not really approved by the same people that live in places that now are at risk of environmental crisis, etc. So I don't know. There's something very strange. I think there's many other factors, of course. The right side, for instance, they spend a lot of money in social media and social network. Spreading lies, exactly.
Well, let's take a moment to talk about what happened in 2019 and the longer history of especially student and workers going on strike and the importance of demonstrations and strikes in Chile. We've talked a little bit about how the military has always been involved in politics there, but you also have really young people, and this is something I've always found so impressive and so interesting about Chile. So Paloma, actually, you probably were of the age, right?
Yeah.
Is that your generation?
I was in high school when the high school movement started, and then I was in the university, in college when the higher education social movement started. So I was part of both, and maybe this is why I think that Chile is not conservative.
Right, yes, because you were part of that generation.
Raised on this generation, and I think that it's a training that many of us got just because we were young in that moment in history. Like the way we think about politics and the way we do politics completely different. Like we were making important decisions and participating when we were 13, 14 years old.
Exactly.
So it's completely different from how this is seen in the US.
Yes.
Even the words people use to refer to young people in the US is usually like kid.
Right. Yeah.
I've seen people use it in college.
I know,
other
right?
like 19, 20-year-old people, they call them kids. Like it feels like very adult-centric, or like a very, I don't know, like you have to establish a difference from them because they're younger. But for us, we understood them as students, not as kids necessarily. And I think that probably was possible. Those very strong and highly approved by society social movements were possible because we were students. We don't have a job. We don't have to go and report to a boss that we are not going to go to work that day because we are on a protest. You also, I always think of Salvador Allende saying being young and not be a revolutionary is even a biological contradiction.
Right.
If you're young, you have to be revolutionary. It wouldn't make sense if you're not.
And yet, I think it's changing slightly now. And I think this is what Nicola was talking about in the British episode. My friend Nicola, who lives in the US and knows the UK. Like the idea of student having any role, like you, and at Paloma, you're absolutely right. It's like this idea that they're kids, they're kind of a special species. People keep talking about, and I think as biological anthropologists, you probably roll your eyes as much as I do. People are constantly talking about, well, their prefrontal cortex isn't developed. You can't trust anything children say. And, this whole idea that if you're under 21, you're irrelevant. You can't possibly say anything sensible or do anything sensible. Is really specific to the US and really strange, particularly if you see something like in Chile, like you're saying, from the age of 13, you were taken seriously by other people. I think that's the thing. The student protests, even of high school students, was respected and taken seriously as a political movement.
And it was taken seriously not because we were young students, but it just made sense. People are getting training in different political parties, and when they're very, very young. So having a leader that is telling you, like, oh, look at this law, I should change it because of this and this and that, and we see, like, oh yeah, like my school doesn't have like a heating system, or
heating,
where like the infrastructure is very, very poor, especially in public schools.
Exactly.
And we start noticing this, and you're like, wait, but public education is a right. Why am I having to live in this situation while people that have money don't have to live through this? Even if you don't have experience doing politics, you can see that that's not fair. Starting from there, you know that you can establish solidarity and connections with other students and just gain momentum.
Well, we should just establish for people who are listening to this who have never heard of these movements before. So they started in, when did they start? Like
2006 was the first one.
2006,
The first big one.
And it was and it was high school students all across the country going on strike and having these massive demonstrations to improve the quality of public education. That was right. And then, am I right in saying it then sort of took on all sorts of other causes as well, or is that later on?
I think that's later on.
Public? Okay,
Probably, I don't remember, do you remember, Rodrigo, when Patagonia Sin Represas was a huge social movement
Yes, because the environmental too. But I don't remember when what year was. I like 2010, something like that.
Something like that.
So probably it was the same generation, but where people were organizing around another completely different topic. And then this generation that was part of the social movement in 2006 went to college, and then in college, I think that maybe that's when it starts becoming more like a broader range of topics, because it included, of course, the right to education, but then like having decent jobs after you graduate from college is something you have to consider. And then a few years later, I think people defending the right to like fair pension and retirement started these huge protests. So it's like a completely different demographic group of society, but maybe they have the same situation that students have. You have more time. You have maybe
interesting.
Like you don't care as much about the things that can happen to you, because I think that maybe when you're at a certain age, you become more individualistic and you have to fight for your own well-being as an individual.
Or you're too busy, right? if you're struggling just with the day-to-day of like going for a job, having childcare, like surviving, then you're too busy to focus on anything.
But then you can see how your parents are working all the time, and as a student you say like, well, this is not okay. And once you're old, you see, I've been working for 25 years and I don't have a decent pension.
No, that's super interesting. One thing that always interests me about several Latin American countries is that the police were not allowed on campus. And I remember being in the Universidad de Chile one afternoon and there was a big protest going on and like all the students kept running into the gates and the police had to stop like literally at the gates and they were like throwing things out and that sort of it feels like it symbolizes like that students are recognized as like a political entity in some kind of way that needs to be protected.
Yes, absolutely. But well, even in the high school, they are protected when they make like these strikes. Anyways, the different I don't know the name in English, but the alcalde, the mayor, they can allow that the police enter to the different colleges, to the high schools. But the university is very strange that it happens. Sometimes that happened. I remember one like many years ago when the police entered to our faculty, and it was like a very strange situation, because the problem is the police is very violent. and the reaction of the students can be even worse. So they prefer to stop all this kind of violence doing this agreement. But during the strikes in 2006 and after, there are many mayors that allowed the policemen to take and to take the students and take them from prison to prison, etc.
Interesting.
Yes. So, but anyways, the thing is, the students, even in the high school, they're very involved in political changes. We have to understand, to recognize too, that there's many political parties that they influence many students, even in high schools.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. From the far right to the far left. Yeah. So that
you mean they actually go and try and like campaign to students, even though they can't vote yet?
Yes. So
interesting.
They have them as members of their political party. So there is like a young, like a subgroup that is for young people, and they get training on specific things. So like you're in high school, but you're reading Marx and like you know what happened in the entire history of Russia because you're part of the Communist Party. The young fraction of the Communist Party.
The young Communist Party.
You're reading those things in high school.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I remember when I was like, 17, 16, going to different political parties after going to the high school, because they gave me, sandwiches. but at the same time, we talk about, politics in general.
yeah, it's getting people involved. I keep coming back now. I'm really thinking, Paloma, about how it really represents almost a different idea of what a citizen is, that as a young person you're still part of the country, you're still a citizen. It's a much broader idea of who should be involved in these kind of conversations and who is worth talking to, right? You can't vote when you're 13, but what you guys are describing, it's like they're still seen as part of the debate.
And actually, for the last referendum that we had 10 years ago, people that were 16 years old and older could vote. And normally in other elections, it's when you are 18 or older.
When you're 18.
So as a recognition to young people that were leading this social movement in 2019 that finally ended up becoming this new constitution, it was like an acknowledgement for their participation and their political relevance in this process.
Yeah. No, that's super interesting. Well, let's talk a little bit then about who is able to vote. Is voting compulsory in Chile?
Well, in this election, it was compulsory, but because it was a referendum trying to vote to the constitution, so something very, very important. And I think it was also a kind of political movement, like how to say, a political arrangement, because the election, if people want to create a new constitution, was not compulsory.
Oh, I see.
And now it was compulsory, and I think it was a very good a strategy to
get
oblige
people
to oblige people that normally they don't vote, so they really are not involved in politics in general, to go to vote. And I think that was a very good strategy for take more votes from the not approval part.
Yeah. So
because normally people that they really don't want to vote, they really don't want any change in general. I think can be a debate.
Yeah, so we think that probably it gave more space and more power to the conservative group that don't even bother to go to vote. But that's one of the hypotheses that explain those results.
If normally you don't vote, essentially you're voting for nothing to change. Interesting.
Yeah, it makes sense.
So is it easy to vote? Is it hard to vote? The experience of going to cast a vote, say in a presidential election, what is involved in that? What happens?
Oh my gosh, this is so different from how it is in the US.
Okay, excellent. Tell me.
So you know that like the Super Bowl here, it seems to be the only thing that unites people. That everyone knows that it's happening and everyone is talking about it. It's the Super Bowl.
Even if you're not watching it, you know that it's happening.
Right. In Chile, it's the same, but elections.
Interesting.
Everyone's talking about it because it's something that it's like a holiday for us. So like no one works. You don't have to go to your work on that day, and if you have to work, then you have the right to have a couple hours to go and vote.
Yeah.
And you can demand it, and it's protected, and people really follow that. It's always on a Sunday.
Sunday, right?
People vote in schools or venues for big events, depending on where you live. Usually you go vote in a place that is nearby where you live.
Okay, yeah.
And the military is in charge of keeping everything in order.
Really?
So that for some people is very traumatic.
Yeah, that's surprising me. Yeah.
So they protect the safety and trustworthiness of the process. But yeah, like that day, you know that if people are on the streets, the only thing that they're doing is going to vote. Like that's what everyone is doing. While in the US, it's like a Tuesday.
And it's really hard. It's really hard for people to actually deliberately. It's really hard to actually vote.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I read that men and women vote in different locations. Is that true?
No, nowadays not.
But it used to be?
I think so, but in past 1980s, I remember that was a different location. But now you can vote independent of your sex or gender. It's all ordered by the surname.
By the surname. Okay, so you go into your voting location, which is near your house. Then what happens?
Well, it's like you make a long queue, depending.
Yeah, a long line.
And the situation of the vote. Because it was a compulsory vote last referendum, it was very large and there was a very long queue. There are a very long line of people. We have to wait a lot to vote. But the process itself is very easy and very fast. You just give your ID credential, and they give you a piece of paper, and you have to mark one line, vertical line over on a horizontal line. That's it. That's it. And after that, there's the counting. That the counting of votes is something very interesting, because you have people that from different sides, for example, in this case, from the approval or not approval, people that defend the two parts, because many people, they don't understand that you have just to make a line, and they sometimes make a ticket and make different figures on the paper, and they like a dispute the validity of the vote.
Okay.
And it's very fast.
So for a presidential election, you still, you it's all by paper still? There's no electronic
It's all by
voting?
paper, yes.
Yeah. And then in that case, who does the counting for like a presidential election?
So first of all, in each location, the people that are working there are choosing like randomly. And once you're chosen, you have to go and work there for the entire day. You get paid.
Do you know, are you told ahead of time you're going to be chosen?
Right. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that you have to attend like a training of some kind.
Yeah.
And after that training, you arrive that day, you have all the materials that you need. It's usually 5 people in one table. So in each table has a number, so you know that you have to vote in this school, and then your table is certain number, so you go to that table, and you will see at least 3 or from 3 to 5 people waiting for you with a book, and you have to sign, so they know that you already voted there, and you cannot vote twice.
Okay, yeah.
You sign that book, you go to a secret chamber, you write your preference, then you fold that paper, you put it on a box, and then that same group of 5 people at the end of the day are the ones in charge of counting the votes. And that process is public. So
it's public,
next to each table, you will have witnesses, and anyone really can be there.
You can just turn up and like decide to watch them counting.
Right. So you just see how people are like singing the votes. They're usually very loud, so everyone knows.
People clapping.
So even it's like a soccer game, like.
So I have to
get really
say,
involved.
Yes.
This is making sense of something that has confused me for a very long time. So I was in Chile when the election that elected Piñera was going on, and I was sitting at home watching TV, and all that was on TV was images of tables of people counting votes, and I was like, what on earth is going on? And it was like you described, like there was this big crowd of people,
exactly,
and like a couple of people sitting at the table being like, this vote, this vote, this vote, and people like getting in their business, like looking over and having opinions. It seemed, incredibly public. Like, do you think that having that, like, it's a really direct form of being public? It's like pencil and paper, and there's people, anyone can go and stand there and watch it happening. Do you think that makes people trust the system more?
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah,
I think
so.
This is one of the best institutions in Chile is the votation system, the CERVEL, the service of vote, of elections. Yes,
I think everyone is very, very proud of that system.
Right.
Because it really works. Like there is no room for doubt. Because you are looking at that table and you know exactly how many votes person A got, and then you go online and you check that table and you're like, it's the same number. And it can't change. Like it, you just saw it. I think it's definitely a system that works really well. I think eventually it will need to change and become electronically to some extent. For example, they've been trying to give the option of early voting and voting by mail. Especially for those of us that are abroad or cannot travel to vote, or people that cannot leave their house. For any like disability or any reason really. So opening that option should be something that happens soon. But I think that maybe people will start distrusting it a little bit more once that happens.
So because it's really like, I'm assuming that like each location you can say, okay, we're going to publicly count up all the votes from the different tables, and then at the end everyone can see that process happening, and then I assume you like telephone it or somehow send that to a central place, so it's each place is getting centralized, but the technology is really transparent on every step of the way. That's really fascinating. I had one more question about something specific that I saw. Like, this is like, these questions have been in my head for 10 years. In Mexico, they said that there was a limit to the amount of time you can campaign. Now, am I remembering correctly? That's the same in Chile as well.
Yes.
Like, you have to start, you can't start too early and you can't end too early.
Exactly. Yes.
I remembered correctly.
Yes, you have a date for closure of any campaigns. It's made like a parties in general, like a music. I don't know. And it happens like 2 or 3 days before the votation. Yes.
Is there a date when you can start campaigning as well? Does it all have a limit?
Yes.
So Paloma, presumably like me, if you're sick of the endless campaigning in the US, it must be quite refreshing to have a limit to it.
Yes, but also something I don't like about politics in Chile is that the amount of trash that the campaigns leave is terrible.
Fascinating.
The streets are just filled with the faces of different candidates,
politicians,
promising things. That's a little bit too much. But I'm glad it has a limit. Like, you can start one day, you should end it. You cannot start before that or continue after that.
Guys, this has been incredibly interesting, and I think we've been able to discuss some things that are really unique to Chile, but are really interesting in comparison to other places. Particularly like the involvement of the military and the involvement of students, and also just the transparency of the actual voting system. But I want to end by asking the questions I'm asking all of my guests. So given everything we've talked about, do you feel like you live in a strong democracy? Do you feel like you trust and have faith in democracy in Chile right now?
I don't know. From my point of view, we need more like a direct democracy. In general, the
direct democracy.
Direct democracy, like the representational democracy made by these parties, these coalitions. I don't know. It involves a lot of blur, and you realize that all the campaigns, promises are not really very good accomplished after the election. So these kind of things happen very, very continuously. From my point of view, I think it would be better to vote for things more than for people, like for topics. It would be preferable because I don't know, you can be, I don't know, more liberal, but also you would like to agree with abortion, for instance.
Right.
But in this kind of coalitions, you have to like a compromise from very strong and very rigid ideological point of view. So I don't know. I think this representational politics is not very good. Right. You are like giving more chances and giving more influence to people more than things.
Interesting.
I really don't like the president itself. Not this president, but in general, I really don't like it. I really don't like, I don't know, the congressman. I would like changes in general. Generally in topics, in general topics. So the people cannot influence in this kind of topics. You have to vote for people that they say that they're going to do things that you like or not. But I don't know. So, in this case, I think it's democratic in terms of you vote or not vote. It's not like the US that you even have a representative who votes for you. No, we vote directly for the people, but the representative system is, from my point of view, it's not really a direct democracy.
That is super interesting. I think that's probably the most radical response I've got to this question, because it's, in a sense, it's a difference between, you're voting for a person who then speaks on your behalf versus people actually voting for things they want to change. So like more like lots of referendums in a sense. Yeah. Fascinating. What about you, Paloma?
I also think that it probably is going to be something more common in the future, like consultas populares, or voting for certain things. Like we want to build this, I don't know, like a park in the middle of the city, and people can actually vote for it.
Interesting.
I think that we're going to be making progress in that direction in the future. I also think that there's a strong focus on decentralizing power nowadays. So voting for more representatives in locations that are not Santiago is also something that is very new. And I think people like it a lot.
Yeah.
But the question about Chile being a strong democracy or not, I will say yes, because I think of other countries and they're so much worse.
No, that makes sense. I think that's true though, right?
I think that like at least the system in Chile is, I feel like it's very transparent in the sense that you know that the messages that you get are from people in power, and you're voting for people that are already in power, and they're all rich, and they're all part of this group that is like a minority that control everything. But everyone knows it, even if we keep voting for them. So it is democratic to some extent. It doesn't, the big problem is that it doesn't give space for working class in general. Any other minorities don't have space in that system. But I think that people are also aware of that. So probably, I hope this is something that changes in the future.
Well, on that lovely optimistic note, we can wrap things up, because I think that's a really important thing to end on. It might not be perfect, but at least it's not hypocritical, I think is kind of what you're saying. Yeah. Thank you so much, guys. This has been super, super interesting, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk about these topics with me. Thank you for listening. This has been a re-released episode from the What Democracy Looks Like In podcast series. Listen out. We will be back very, very soon with our final episode of this season, which will be about what democracy looks like in the United States. Stay tuned.